from across the Indo-Pacific community for the Taipei session of the 2020 Indo-Pacific Business Forum. Thank you very much for investing your time with us here near the noon lunchtime. My name is Arthi Shroff, and I'm the Deputy Economic Chief at the American Institute in Taiwan, also known as AIT. You're about to hear from an amazing panel to discuss forging public-private partners in the medical industry and the impressive Taiwan model on combating COVID-19. Our experts gathered here today will discuss how, through leveraging the private sector, Taiwan has been able to manage the current pandemic, as well as highlight future cooperation opportunities with the private sector on building resilient and secure medical supply chains for the future. In the process, you without doubt will hear more about the strength of the U.S.-Taiwan economic partnership, including through private sector cooperation. Over the last year, AIT in Taiwan has been working closely with the Taiwan authorities and Taiwan industries on the critical role that Taiwan plays in global supply chains, and specifically in strengthening medical supply chains that are guided by shared values of the transparency, good governance, and free and fair trade and open investment environments. It is worth noting also that the pillars of Taiwan's new southbound policy are consistent with the principles envisioned for the United States free and open Indo-Pacific strategy. Before we start our panel discussions, I'd like to invite AIT Director Brent Christensen to kick off our session today with opening remarks.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the American Institute in Taiwan and Taipei, I'm delighted to welcome you to participate in this invaluable panel co-hosted with the Taiwan External Trade Development Council, or TAITRA. Today you will hear from experienced Taiwanese experts about Taiwan's best practices to combat COVID-19 and the integration of Taiwan's medical supply industry to deal with the COVID-19 response. First, the United States applauds the success of the Taiwan model to combat COVID-19. The visit of U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar to Taiwan in August of this year further signifies the important role that Taiwan can play in the international arena to share its expertise on COVID-19. Moreover, the United States and Taiwan signed a memorandum of understanding to expand our cooperation on global health security, infectious disease control, and vaccine development. Second, the COVID-19 pandemic and its lasting consequences will change the way companies evaluate the risks of investing so heavily in a single country. COVID-19 will encourage economies around the world to seek trustworthy trade partners and supply lines. In this regard, Taiwan has distinguished itself as a trusted supplier of critical materials such as medical equipment. As many of us saw, during the initial outbreak of COVID-19, medical supplies, including necessary PPE, were in high demand all over the world. Taiwan saw this need and mobilized its industry to become the world's largest manufacturer of surgical masks for a time. While Taiwan's ability to provide for itself is admirable, Taiwan's assistance to partners and friends, including the United States, during this crisis is even more inspiring. Third, as we evaluate what changes to the global supply chain are necessary in light of the pandemic, one thing is certain. Taiwan has demonstrated time and again that it is a reliable partner and a critical player in moving toward a more sustainable global economy. Taiwan is at the center of regional high-technology supply chains, and the United States considers Taiwan a key partner in building trusted global supply chains for critical technologies, medical equipment, and semiconductors. We look forward to working together to establish more resilient supply chains in the event of future crises. I would also like to highlight at the Indo-Pacific Business Forum that the United States welcomes Taiwan's important contributions to infrastructure development in the Indo-Pacific region and its broader promotion of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Just last month, Taiwan and the United States signed a framework to strengthen infrastructure finance and cooperate on developing infrastructure in other countries in the Indo-Pacific and Latin America. This framework takes cooperation between the United States and Taiwan to a new level, and I look forward to the first virtual working group session taking place later this week. In conclusion, it has been our pleasure to work closely with Taiwan to share the Taiwan model on COVID-19 with both U.S. institutions and countries around the world. As you will hear in the following panel presentations, we believe that Taiwan is an important partner for the United States and other like-minded countries to reshape global supply chains for the health, security, and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Director Christensen, for highlighting the importance of this topic and the important role Taiwan plays as a trusted partner in supply chains. Now, before we start our panel, I'd like to remind our live audience that our panelists will be glad to take questions from all of you after they've finished their presentations. Now, first off, I'd like to invite James Huang, the chairman of Taiwan External Trade Development Council, TITRA, to start the panel presentation. As many of you might have known, TITRA has been working closely with the United States and our partners on supply chain resiliency, including in the ICT and medical section, in the medical industry. Just last month, AIT issued a joint statement with TITRA on securing supply chains. James Huang has more than 30 years of experience serving in the public and private sectors to advance Taiwan's economic relations with international partners. Chairman Huang, please.
Good morning, everyone. Xin chào. First of all, thank you, Director Christensen and RC for the kind introduction. On behalf of TITRA, I'm honored to join you for this Indo-Pacific Business Forum. And I just saw my good friend, Dr. Vu Tin Loc, President of BCCI, Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry online. He was on the big screen a few minutes ago. And I believe he is addressing the forum in Hanoi right now. Last year, TITRA and our delegation had the honor of joining this forum in Bangkok. It was a win for everyone who joined. And I can see we have another winner today here for everyone joining from the US, Taiwan, Vietnam, and the Indo-Pacific region. The Indo-Pacific Business Forum is a very effective platform for promoting business among like-minded partners. Through this platform, we are seeing the continued strengthening of public-private partnerships that bring prosperity to the region. Taiwan is honored to be a member of this community, and we have been committed to deepening our relationship with our partners through the new southbound policy, which we launched in 2016. Following new southbound policy of making friends and creating win-win opportunities, TITRA has continued to work with our partners in the region, including the US, to establish trade and investment centers as well as business alliances that promote public-private partnerships. If you were in Thailand last year and you asked me about my outlook for 2020, the answer would have never been in a million years, COVID. But here we are. This pandemic quite literally turned our world upside down. COVID is a formidable enemy. Our lives are at stake, so we must stay vigilant, work together, and stay ahead of the opponent. We must work with our friends and partners if we ever wish to put a stop and beat COVID in its path, which is why today's discussion on public-private partnerships are so important. Today, I will present to you the Taiwan model on COVID, a good example of the government and people partnering up to leverage technology to overcome tough challenges and save lives. The Taiwan model is a tried and tested model. We have been very fortunate to be able to keep our way of life mostly intact and largely the same as pre-COVID days. But it took everybody, the government and the people, to make it work. Taiwan's success story did not come out of sheer luck. Taiwan was the first country in the world to resume public sporting and exhibition activities since the outbreak. Not too long ago, I was in southern Taiwan for the opening of a baseball game. If 2020 is baseball, then I believe the world right now is in the second half of the ninth round. Since the 2003 SARS outbreak, Taiwan has made dramatic reforms in the public and private sectors, particularly in the healthcare segment, as well as educating the public to stay vigilant about future deadly outbreaks. For COVID, it began when Taiwan CDC learned that there had been at least 7 very suspicious cases in Wuhan. We immediately alerted WHO and China CDC regarding our concerns. We were also quick to place travel bans on China, followed by strict 14-day quarantines, contact tracing, and putting our hospitals on high alert. This was January 2nd, 2020. The private sector then answered the government's call to set up production of vital medical supplies, and the Taiwanese people followed the government's advice on daily health protocols, such as social distancing, washing hands, and face masks. The private sector joined the government in leveraging technologies like big data to create phone apps that help alleviate panic buying. Many other such public-private partnerships were formed in various industry sectors, including machinery, ICT, hospitality, travel and retail, and of course, medical and health care. The entire country of Taiwan is in the fight against COVID, but Taiwan cannot be an island unto itself. When it comes to COVID, we are all in this fight together. In terms of my organization, Taiwan, we have been dedicated to facilitating international business and trade, as well as public and private partnerships, via the physical as well as digital tools, which have proven to be very important during this challenging time. The online Taiwan anti-COVID-19 pavilion we launched in June this year brought together professionals and leaders from the public and private sectors, including over 20 medical institutions and 2,000 private companies who are helping the fight through their individual fields of expertise. The online pavilion also acts as a business matching platform to help ensure medical technology and medical devices can be made available to countries around the world. Through our online platform, we also held medical webinars that share the successful COVID fighting experiences of Taiwanese doctors, medical experts, and hospitals with their peers in India, Southeast Asia, Central and South America, Africa, and the Middle East. To prevent a second or even the third or fourth wave of COVID, we must all work together and be vigilant at all times. Medical cooperation is the key element of Taiwan's new southbound policy. Taiwan's hospitals have been mobilized to work together with their counterparts in the Indo-Pacific region. Through ongoing interaction and engagement, we brought our hospitals, medical institutions, businesses and industries, as well as academic communities closer together. Right now, one of our top priorities is to collaborate on the research and development of effective vaccines and medication, as well as the still urgently needed medical supply solutions for our preemptive strategies against the next wave, which is why we have with us today companies such as Winstrong and Mindtrax to share with us their latest efforts. Currently, there are 3 Taiwan pharmaceutical and biotech companies developing and testing vaccine for COVID. According to Taiwan Food and Drug Administration, these companies are going to complete stage 1 clinical trials soon. And if successful, second clinical trials will probably begin as soon as November to December this year. Testing will then take place on around 3,000 human volunteers. If their vaccines prove effective, it is possible that they will receive emergency authorization and expect to go onto the market second or third quarter next year. At the heart of our endeavor is the building up of international public and private partnerships based on our shared values. And Taiwan is honored to be able to play a role in this cause for good. We look forward to working with our partners in Taiwan and in the Indo-Pacific region to forge this important partnership. This brings me to the end, and I would like to leave you with a quote from Helen Keller. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairman Huang, for your eloquent remarks and for leaving us with that inspirational thought. For going through the different lines of effort that the Taiwan authorities went through, including the private companies, whether from PPE to all the way to current vaccine development. Now, our next guest is Dr. Gu Se-ming from Taiwan's Mitrex Health Technologies Company. Mitrex Technologies specializes in making non-woven fabrics and medical devices with innovative designs. At the onset of COVID-19, Mitrex increased its production capacity for high-quality melt-blown fabrics and supported Taiwan government's mask-making national team, a true example of a strong public-private partnership. Mitrex successfully provided the melt-blown fabrics, which helped yield more than 10 million face masks daily. Mitrex is also planning to set up a new melt-blown fabric production in the United States and is seeking cooperation in the PPE supply chain within the Indo-Pacific. Dr. Gu, please.
Thank you, Afi. Thank you. It is indeed my great honor to attend this Indo-Pacific Business Forum, and thanks for the invitation by AIT and Taiwan. Today, I would like to speak on our experience about this systematic approach for providing sufficient basic essentials of PPE. Okay, my industry is in the mask, so I will focus on the mask industry. Next, please. Oh, I have this. Before I talk Taiwan's approach, I would like to speak to background. The first one is about my company. Mitrex has been existing in the market for 30 years. Our core business is to produce the male-blown fabrics, and using these fabrics can, to make some filtration products such as mask, industrial mask, as well as to provide a filtration for the leukocyte blood, or white blood cell reduction, which could be used to enhance the blood transfusion safety. The second background, maybe you may not know this, is about how to make a mask. And if you decompose the mask, so you can find there are 5 components, and we call this the outer layer. It is spun-bound, fabrics. This fabric could have this waterproof. And then the second male-blown production, the fabrics in here, which could be used to capture the virus. And the inner layer is this thermal bond, which, because it touches our skin, so become a very lovely and soft touch in here. And we also have others. We have this ear loop, and also this the nose bridge. But within those 5 components is still not enough. Okay, you still have a machine to produce them and to assemble them. So we have to have a machine in here to produce all those 3 layers as well as other 2 components. and then to have the assembly machine to put into an end product, a mask. And also you have to have the upstream raw material, which is the polypropylene, is we call PP. And originally, in the very beginning of this outbreak, actually we import those raw material for foreign countries. But today it's different. I will tell you later. Okay, so now I want to talk about our experience and our Taiwan's systematic approach, which I believe is a very successful cooperation and coordination platform, integrate the public and the private partners. Look, Taiwan, we have 23 million in populations. But in the very beginning of the outbreak, our government actually initiated an early deployment action. The first step in that action is to have this production capacity survey. But unfortunately, the result is disappointing. In that day, we could only produce 1.8 million masks per day, which is obviously far from enough to help all the population in Taiwan. But still, our government laid out the goal in here. So in March 1st, we have to produce up to 10 million, and then another 3 million in 1 month, and then another 2 weeks up to 20 million. But through the survey, I just mentioned the disappointed fact is our private companies, we did not have enough resources to meet those goals. Okay, we don't have enough production machines. Okay, originally our production machines rely on foreign companies, like companies from Japan. Okay, and at that time, I want to increase my capacity. I call them, they say you have to wait for 20 months. 20 months, unbelievable. Oh, sorry, I have times. Okay, we don't have the workforce. Okay, some companies, they don't have enough electricities. Okay, and of course, we don't have enough brown fabrics. So our government, thanks to our government, they're coming in and to organize several sectors. For instance, the government summoned and the volunteers from the precision machinery industries, they coming in 3 weeks to complete 60 machines which can produce the mask. And our Department of Defense, they send soldiers and officials to my company, okay, to help us, to complete the work. And Taiwan power companies, they coming into the companies to increase the installment of the equivalent to that and increase their capacities. And even so, we are still, because you are facing many private companies, so you have to have a fair system, okay? And to be fair, you have to have a transparent system. So we have this IT systems. So the mask companies, they can submit their demands to the systems. And we saw the data, and they see our capacity as well. So this is a transparent system between Ministry of Economic Affairs, private producers, and we have the middle there, the Non-Women Industry Association. So this is a transparent system which can bring up the trust, and that's our systems make our system so successful. And after 5 months, I should say, we have achieved the impossible goal set up by our government. And but we are not just produce enough masks. We actually achieve more. Okay, for the whole supply chains, we can have 100% self-control from PP to the end and all the production machines. All right. So during the COVID period, we also help our friends, the foreign friends. We send them some masks, donate some masks. And I'm proud to say that the good quality appraisals from our foreign friends, we are the best. Oops, sorry. Unfortunately, so far, we still under the threat of these COVID-19. And we learned that still some countries, they are still lack of the mask. And I personally believe that rely on other countries' supply may not be the best approach. So we can help. Okay, Taiwan PPE industry, they get export to various grade of mask, and also we can transfer our production system because now the system we have the 100% control. We can provide them a reasonable time delivery, 2 months. Okay, reasonable price to set it up, and great quality meets international standards. And we also provide on-site training and experience transfer. So so thank you so much. I'd like to thank your attention. And if you need our help, you can contact me or contact through our Taiwan office or representative globally. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Go, and I appreciate you highlighting the key characteristics of transparency, trust, that really helped Mitrex and other companies in Taiwan ramp up that production to a model that also can be replicable and scalable around the world. Now, last but not least, for our panelists for this session, I'd like to introduce Vice President Brian Chung from Taiwan's Wistron Medical Technology. Wistron Corporation is a Fortune Global 500 company and known as a leading supplier for major U.S. tech companies, including Apple, and it has established localized production lines in places like the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, and India. With its expertise from sophisticated ICT manufacturing, Wistron is now expanding into the areas of smart medicine treatment and holistic healthcare services. Mr. Chung has more than 30 years of research and development experience in advanced technology and is focusing on advanced medical solutions to foster biotechnology innovations. Brian, please.
Thank you very much, Artie, for your eloquent introduction. My name is Brian, and today I'm going to present the product lines that Wistron has been producing for our partners and customers who are involved in fighting the COVID-19 crisis. As Artie mentioned, Wistron is one of the world's largest company. We are listed in Fortune Global 500 at 452nd place. Last year's revenue is about 29 billion, and we have about 28 manufacturing sites all over the world. Wistron has a lot of medical product design and manufacturing experiences. In particular, we focus on a lot of in vitro diagnostic products and a lot of medical software development, exoskeleton robotics for helping people walk, and also in life sciences, as well as medical imaging and also IoT and remote monitoring capabilities. Key challenges that the world faces with COVID-19 is it's very infectious and lethal. So if we look at the early days of the pandemic, a lot of the frontline medical workers died because of exposure to the patients who are infected. And that's a very sad event. The second issue that we face is inadequate testing that is part of the key to successful containment of the virus. So these two continue to be the main issues in facing the challenge of COVID-19. And Wistron has been involved with developing products to address these challenges, and we have 5 customers today shipping 5 different products for COVID-19 diagnostic testing, and also 3 other products for remote monitoring. So the 5 products that for use in diagnosing COVID-19 ranges from fully automated systems that can handle a lot of test samples in one time that are used in the laboratory, all the way to rapid testing using antibody and antigen. The first example here is a company from Canada. It had world's smallest size PCR for point-of-care testing. So you don't need to send all your samples to a central laboratory and wait for days to come up with the result. With this device on site, you can have result in 30 minutes. And it's reported in many news reports regarding the launch of this product. And they're very kind enough to also mention Wisdom Corporation as the manufacturer of their device. The second example is a company based in UK called DRW. And initially the product was designed to detect HIV and deployed in resource-limited settings like Africa for chasing after HIV infections. With COVID-19, they immediately came up with a solution to adopt the platform to detecting COVID-19. And with this platform, we can detect the result of COVID-19 in 90 minutes for 4 patients at a time. And then BBC also covered this launch of the product in the first hospital being Edinburgh in the UK. The third example is the company based in the United States called Applied Biocode. They have a fully automated system which is high throughput. So you put in the test sample in, and you get results out. So you can test up to 94 different samples in one time. And within 4 hours, you get the results. And so this one is very important because one of the limitations also in testing facility is not enough technicians who are well trained to conduct the tests. And so with a fully automated system, you don't need a lot of training to start using the product. And this is another company based in Taiwan. It's a semi-automated system where you still need manual transfer of the test samples from one equipment to the other. But it's much cheaper and also deployed already in many countries, including the United States. So this one also is high throughput. It can test up to 94 samples at a time within 4 hours as well. And they are invested together with us by a Japanese company called Denka, and they're participating together in launching this product also in Japan. And Denka also happens to be one of the largest test kit provider in Japan. And they have a product called the Quick Navi, which is used to also read the test cartridges for flu infection. And the same platform would be used for COVID-19 as well. So this one is using antibody tests, so it can have results in 15 minutes. And so this is the product. It's a cartridge and already packaged for COVID-19 deployment. And it's also on sale in Japan by the biggest company in Japan for test kits called Otsuka. The first company for remote monitoring is called Maya, based out of Taiwan. This company specializes in IoT, medical IoT. So the Vitals Gateway here can connect to many different types of medical equipment and read out the data, and then transfer the data to the backend for big data analytics. And the analytics will generate actionable information for healthcare professionals to take action. And these are some of the examples of the medical equipment that they can connect to. So you can see one-to-one connection with many different medical devices. And we already have a second generation device as well, which has a larger screen capable of showing much more information. The second product for remote monitoring is a radio frequency based sensor, where we use that to detect heart rate and breathing rate of patients who are on the bedside. This one is non-invasive and also has no privacy issue because it's not like camera. So with this data, we can generate a lot of different applications, such as testing for sleep quality, for whether it's out of bed or whether the patient is falling down or whatever. The last example is we call Biocode, based out of the US as well. This one has a very small patch where you can put it on your body. It measures the skin temperature as well as derive all the other data, such as heart rate and breathing rate as well. And in some governments are using this device for welcoming tourists again back into the country. And each tourist will be given this patch to test and monitor their body temperature. And the same thing can be used for schools reopening to welcome students back in, or for companies in lockdown areas to welcome employees back into the office. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brian, for that very informative presentation and for describing how Taiwan companies are able to seek innovative solutions across medical diagnostics, rapid test kits, as well as monitoring products. Now, this session of our panel will turn to the question and answer session, and I'm excited to see that we have many questions here from our live audience. I want to kick it off to each one of our expert panelists and first start off and ask them the same question. That what are Taiwan's strengths as a business partner in the region to managing COVID-19 and also ensuring supply chain resiliency? Dr. Gu, if I could start with you first.
Well, thank you. I think that the most important strength is that the Taiwan industry and also the government, we have a very quick response capabilities. So our government know the capacity of our companies, and we know where to go under the guidance of the government. So I think that would be the most important strength in Taiwan. Thank you.
Now you raise a great point that Taiwan companies are quite nimble once they have a goal and a mission to achieve. Chairman Huang.
Well, actually, last week, Taitra just hosted the Medical Taiwan trade show in Taipei in our Nangang Exhibition Hall. And hundreds of Taiwanese pharmaceutical, biotech, and medical companies display their latest know-how, innovations, and services. And I think Taiwan is fully prepared to work with our partners in Indo-Pacific in the restructuring of medical supply chain with the support of our medical technology companies and our community.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Director Christensen.
I think two important strengths. One, Taiwan's very impressive technical capabilities. As we've already heard, the companies that have produced their products have some really impressive technologies. And then, as Dr. Gu pointed out, their ability to turn a product or turn around an industry rather quickly to produce the necessary products. I mean, I think the best case, best example is how quickly they were able to ramp up production of face masks within a matter of 3 weeks. They went from 1.8 million to 10 million. That's a pretty impressive accomplishment.
Thank you for pointing that out, Director Christensen. And as you mentioned in your remarks, Taiwan was not only able to use that in Taiwan, but also to help other economies and countries around the world. Brian.
I think the key was to respond very fast. The government was very fast in responding to the crisis, and also the trust from the population in following government recommendations really helped in early containment.
Yeah, the trust factor has been quite key in this regard. Now, next I see that we have a question for our panelists. What areas are you looking for more cooperation opportunities with our partners across the Indo-Pacific region? Dr. Gu, if I could start with you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I think because my company is a small, medium size in the mask-related industry, we are looking for the local partners. Technology, we are ready, okay. Experience, we are ready. Now, we are lacking of the local experience. So we need the local partners to have further cooperations. And we can go there and work with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. James.
Yes, I think the biggest challenge we face now in terms of COVID is to develop effective vaccine as quickly as possible. And in that sense, I think Taiwanese companies are looking forward to the opportunity of cooperation with our partners in Indo-Pacific countries. There pharmaceutical and biotech companies. Together, we can develop effective vaccine. That would be the best way to cope with the COVID.
That's a good point, focusing on the next big challenge of vaccine development. Director Christensen.
Well, as I noted earlier, Taiwan has some very impressive technology and technological capabilities, but it is a relatively small market. So what they really need to do is work with partners elsewhere in the region to get economies of scale, because they really need to have a bigger market for some of these products.
That's right, and the like-minded Indo-Pacific is a great market for Taiwan as well as the United States. Brian.
Well, medical products are highly regulated, and that's why even when we go into Indo-Pacific regions or ASEAN countries, we still need local partners who have capabilities to get the medical certification, as well as establish the distribution channel for medical products.
That's right. Now, the next question I see that we have from our audience is, what are the key elements to create a successful public-private partnership in the medical industry based on your experience? Dr. Gu.
Yeah, I think usually the successful public and private partnerships will get initiated by the government first. And then if the government can set a goal, then the private partner will know where to go. And that's the first the key elements. But during the process, I think we need to have systems so that we can have the transparent information, so that we can team up and let people get involved in the system, feel this is a fair systems. No hidden information. I think that would be the most two key elements. Thank you.
Transparency and preventing a hidden agenda. That's great. James.
I fully concur with Dr. Gu. First, government has to take the lead. And second, transparency and openness matter. And third, the private sector will have to mobilize to contribute to this cause.
And that sounds exactly like what the Taiwan experience has been like so far on the COVID-19 model. Right. Director Christensen.
Well, I think it's important that there be a clear division of labor. Government provides the platform, a structure, information, and leave the production to the private sector, where their efficiencies and their abilities are very clear.
That's a great point. Delineating lines of responsibility. Brian.
I think the decisiveness of the government is very important. And in the case of the successful face mask national team, the government's decision to procure all the production output from this company definitely helped.
Great. Now, the next question I wanted to ask our esteemed panelists is, given that they are such experts in their right in government and private sector, what key trends are each one of you focused on as we deal with COVID-19 and medical supply chains and securing supply chain resiliency? Dr. Gu.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think, yes, now we have produced enough masks. But I think the good point is that we can enhance more functions on the mask. For instance, our next generation mask will not just capture the virus, but also to kill the bacteria or to reduce the infectious abilities of the virus. And that is important because, for instance, in the airplane when you're traveling, if you use these new filtrations, that will reduce the risk of being, contracting about the virus. It will make the travel more safer. That will build up again our economy. So I think that is our new trend I'm focusing on. Thank you.
Oh, a very important trend to focus on. James.
Oh, I think international cooperation and coordination are extremely important for countries to fight COVID-19 together. But because of the pandemic, international travels and face-to-face meetings are limited. So we have to resort to very much digital means. Well, actually, online, the Indo-Pacific Business Forum is a perfect example. So we need to use more digital means to work together and to fight the COVID together.
That's great. Thank you. Director Christensen.
I would just note that, as I indicated in my earlier remarks, that companies and countries and economies have discovered the risks of becoming too reliant on a single product or a single producer. So I think a key trend is that people are diversifying their sources of supplies so that they are not too dependent on a single source.
And great that we have the Indo-Pacific Business Forum to help partners find each other as they try to diversify that supply chain. Brian.
Yeah, well, in the ICT industry, we have always been diversifying to get more local, especially for final assembly of products. So it comes very naturally for the ICT industry players like us.
Now, James, I wanted to turn to you. As you had alluded to Taitra building these online platforms,
yes,
specifically medical platforms in the time of COVID. Can you share a little bit more with our guests around the world? What has been the impact of these platforms and the results as you've connected companies, hospitals, experts together, all in a virtual environment?
Sure. We launched the Taiwan Global Anti-COVID-19 Pavilion in June. And as I said, Taiwan cannot be an island unto ourselves. So we put together all Taiwanese medical experts, medical companies, our expertise, experiences, and launched the Global Anti-COVID-19 Pavilion. And this pavilion was designed to meet the needs of general public, government officials, medical professionals, and business people in terms of know-how, experience, and equipment that they would need to fight the pandemic. So millions of people have already surfed our website, and many organizations, companies already contact us for more cooperation and dialogue. And also we use the pavilion to launch medical webinars with doctors and nurses all over the world. So I think it's a very useful digital tool for this fight.
Great, and for everyone who didn't see, please feel free to scan the QR code and you can connect yourself and your organization to Taitra's wonderful COVID platform. Brian, I just wanted to turn to you, as I know Wistron has a lot of production facilities throughout the Indo-Pacific and other regions. As you've been dealing with COVID, what are some of the measures that you've put in place, whether based on Wistron's experience or the Taiwan model on COVID-19?
Because of the large sizes of our factories, employing thousands of employees every day, they have to go to the factory. What we do is very basic. We give face masks to all our employees. We measure the body temperature before they get into the facility. We also arrange in many countries where there's more serious conditions to have buses that go between just the factory and the dormitory. We don't let the employees go out on their own.
Thank you so much, Brian. And unfortunately, I think we're going to run out of time. So thank you again to our wonderful host, Taitra. Really appreciate all of our esteemed panelists. As we get to the end of our session, I'd like to remind everyone that the United States is very pleased to work together with our like-minded partners, including Taiwan, in the Indo-Pacific to improve supply chain resiliency, to prevent and prepare for future challenges. Taiwan has been a major investor in high-quality industries in the United States and is looking for additional opportunities in other economies. Thank you so much again, and we look forward to seeing you in another virtual setting soon.
Thank you. All right.
Well done, Aussie.
Good job.
Okay. No?
Oh.